Hello, thank you so much for watching Creative Tech Podcast today. So today's episode, interview Kate, part 1. We talked about Kate's experience in the VR and immersive art industry in Los Angeles and talked about how did she get the dream position. Let's get started. Okay, let's get started.
I got my coffee.
Yes.
Okay,
Hi, Kate.
Hello. I'm so glad I could make it and come to this interview because it was so nice meeting you on Friday, and I loved the skate thing. That was super fun. So and I'd love to just talk more about VR and art and
So, Kate, please imagine there are many audience to looking forward to listen your amazing journey.
Okay, great.
So, could you please introduce yourself, your name, and what do you do in Los Angeles?
Yeah, totally. So my name is Kate Dowd, and I am doing mostly marketing and social media, but I've worked for immersive brands for a couple years now. So I'm also doing some stuff on the side where I do, it's called plein air artwork. So I'm part of a group that goes around different spots of LA and paints and draws the buildings or the landscape. So that's been really fun as well. So that's a little bit about what I'm up to out here. And then my family lives in San Diego, so it's really easy to go down and visit. But I went to USC out in LA as well, so a lot of my friends that went there graduated and stayed in the area. So I love hanging out with my friends out here as well. I do Dungeons and Dragons.
Really?
I like to explore the city as well. A lot of my friends work remote, so oh my gosh, my hair is going crazy. But,
it's kind of weird.
A lot of my friends work remote, so it's really fun also exploring all of the coffee shops out here. There's a lot of wonderful coffee and really cute places to get work done with your laptop. And then another thing too I really like out here is the fashion. So I love to thrift shop. They have a really cool thrifting and flea market culture out here. So so I'm loving LA.
I see.
I've been here for about, not counting college, like around 3 years now.
Just 3 years.
Yeah, for the pandemic, I was living in San Diego with my parents. So it's really nice to be out on my own and living in LA just independently. I have 3 roommates though, so there's 4 of us living in an apartment together. So I mean, it saves on rent, and then we're all in our late 20s. So it's honestly really fun. We all just kind of talk about our love lives and dating, and it's been really fun I'd rather actually have that than live alone. Because it's a little scary living by yourself as like a young woman. So it's been really fun. So that's a little bit about my LA life.
I see. Thank you. So we met at the unique event at the
The skate house.
Skate house is someone donate one big house for local skaters. So unique.
It was super cool. They had like this handmade half pipe in the backyard where people were doing tricks. Lots of different, rails and just like things for people to do it. And it was funny. I was talking to the guy out there, and he's like, on paper, it's supposed to be 4 people living there, but actually 7 people live there. And I think one person lives in like the garage as like a converted bedroom and stuff, but it looked really fun. And then what they were doing there too is some of them were working in VR. What they want to do is code skate parks as a VR experience so that you can, so that you can do tricks and skate in a skate park while wearing a headset and kind of gamify that experience. So it was really cool. I think a really cool thing about LA is a lot of people have really awesome ideas, and since it's such a hub of professionals and creatives, I think when you have a cool idea out here, it's much easier to connect with people that can make it happen and make it a reality. So
I see. So at the venue, so event was VR slash skate house.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you wore cool yellow t-shirt, and then you had your handmade skateboard earring.
Yes,
What
yes.
is this? And you said, I made it for this event. How cool, creative lady. So I couldn't stop to talk with her.
Yes,
Okay,
yes. Let's see. Here, I don't know. I can send you the.
Yes, please.
But here was me skating with the headset.
It's so cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So that was really fun. Yeah, another thing I've done out here in LA is they have a lot of people in the VR industry. So I've actually done a VR hiking group where we go to different trails.
Hiking group?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
is this?
So we go to different trails around LA with people in the immersive industry. So I've met some people that way. And yeah, the connections have actually lasted a while. I'm friends with them on LinkedIn, and then we kind of catch up with what each other are doing. So that's been really cool. And there's actually a lot of people think of LA as just like a city, but there's a lot of really beautiful hiking trails that are really close by. Right outside of the city, you can find waterfalls and really beautiful nature. So that's been really fun. And I have the Discord group. So I don't know, you could maybe like share that link or something. Yeah, so there's definitely a really thriving XR community out here.
Amazing. So I have a question.
Okay.
So Kate, you are really into VR and AR.
Yes.
So could you please tell us about it?
Yeah. So I graduated in 2018, and then fresh out of graduating in 2019, I decided to just apply to work at the Sundance Film Festival. And I was so surprised that they actually accepted me because I was a new grad and I didn't have much work experience. But what I did was I was what's called a docent. So yeah, and I was a little bit of like an artist liaison as well. So that's how I got my start in VR. I worked there 2019 and 2020 as a docent.
What kind of role?
So basically, I was getting paired up to certain installations, and it's called New Frontier. So it used to be a very thriving like VR branch of the festival that was showing things with AR lenses, VR, other immersive stuff. So like if you've ever seen the wall projectors, they did that as well. So I was paired up to certain experiences and kind of trained on how to instruct people with the headset, what to do when they're in the experience. One was called Sweet Dreams, and we were actually giving people food to eat in VR. Yes. So like I was making sure that the cup always had like the liquid in it. We were giving them like an interesting kind of like smoothie. And it was funny too, like it was very manual, so I'd have to go on the wall and like hit a button if they picked something up with their right hand. If it was left hand, it was a different button. So like it was very manual and behind the scenes actually. So yeah, artist liaison, just making sure the artists knew everything they needed to know from Sundance, the festival, and communicating that. So I did that for 2 years, and I still actually am friends with some of the people that I met, the other docents that I met there. So that kind of leads to other stuff in VR that I've done. So someone that I met at Sundance was working for Pico. They're a Beijing-based, headset company. So I've done a couple demos with Pico, going to things like Consumer Electronics Show or CES in Vegas and doing demos there. I did Augmented World Expo in 2021 with Pico. So I was working at their booth and just basically putting people into a headset and demoing like the newest headset that they came out with and its capabilities. Pico's known for their eye tracking, and they do something called foveated rendering. So where you're looking is rendered at like 100% quality, but around it, it's a little bit lower quality so that it's less strain on the processing power. So I've gotten to know kind of the hardware side of things through that too. So it's really interesting seeing the emerging tech and what people are doing there. But I also really like the artistic side of the content creation of VR as well. I think when I started with Sundance, that's when I realized that it's a whole new medium to express stories in. One that I thought was really incredible was, and I can look up the title, but it was set on a boat. And on a boat. Big boat. like a fisherman boat, like a smaller boat, but the VR experience of that, because I used to live in Hawaii and I've been on whale watching boats and all that kind of thing. The 360 wraparound of the ocean in that experience felt like you were really on a boat, and I've never seen any flat media be able to accomplish something like that. Yeah, I can look up the name of that because it was really an incredible story. So let me look it up for a second.
Then you can have coffee.
Okay, sounds good.
Interesting.
Okay, so all right, the wraparound one was called Age of Sail. Sorry if it's really reflecting,
Don't
but
worry. Age of Sail. Okay, this is you work with.
This was one that I saw at a festival, and it was really cool how VR could tell the story of being on a boat in a really immersive. The only thing about that though is like, I loved that experience so much, but one thing that I notice that VR kind of has a problem with is a lot of lost media.
Lost media?
Yeah,
What is this?
so there'll be really amazing VR experiences that go through festivals, but then they never are available anywhere else.
Okay,
even
only
though,
like one day.
yeah, so they're shown at a few festivals or something, but then they never make it to any of these libraries where you can see them at an at-home headset. So that's one thing that I kind of wish that there was more effort to either buy them or have a way to show it to more people, because I love the festival circuit when it comes to VR, and I've seen so many beautiful experiences and installations that then never go anywhere else, or there's a very limited audience that get to see it. So I'm a little bit passionate about having these big VR libraries invest in some of these smaller artists that have made beautiful VR, instead of only doing like massive productions with a lot of budget, or like a really famous IP like Stranger Things or Ghostbusters or something. I think that it would be really cool to bring some of those festival darlings and things that people loved at the festival circuit to more people. And then like what I pulled up is whenever I go to festivals or showcases, I love to write little articles. So that's why I was saying I was going to write an article of the skate one. Cool. So I just kind of write about what it was, how it felt, some pictures of the people in headsets and stuff like that. And so I've been doing this since Sundance in 2019. So that way I can also look back and see how far the technology has come. And yeah, see technological like breakthroughs or innovation, as well as just sort of what the problems were at that time and if they've fixed it yet and things like that. So VR is really fast moving. So that's another thing that really I find cool, is that the technology is always improving. Back when I started, it was always wired headsets, and now the fact that it's just a standalone, where you don't even need trackers throughout the room. The technology is really progressing so fast, and I find that amazing. And I think one of the problems recently was filling that space with enough content to make people even want to buy the headsets, because the libraries can be kind of limited. But I think Meta is finally starting to roll out more things with, like I was saying, kind of the popular IP. I own like all of the Star Wars. There's a VR series that's maybe 3 or 4 episodes now called Vader Immortal. So I have all those episodes, but I think they were struggling with coming out with something with like a series with multiple episodes, with an IP that people are interested in. So I've seen like a Ghostbusters VR, a Stranger Things VR. So just like these popular shows and movies that people actually want to try VR in. So I think they're finally starting to get more experiences out there. But for a while it was kind of a very small library and pool of experiences. So yeah. So that's kind of my involvement with VR.
Interesting. So, okay, for my understanding, there are many, like the company who create VR content, and then there are many, like small agency or independent VR artists. But their pain point is, so far, only big company who has amazing budget they can make like a great event, and then they can do like an immersive experience event. So
Yeah.
small agency or individual artists, it's difficult to
Yes.
work with them. And also like, for example, some festival, if we could make great artwork, but like event is maybe 1 day or 2 days, and after event, maybe no content.
Yeah,
That's why
exactly.
library is
So yeah, one thing that I've noticed is like there's kind of two sides of VR right now. There's like the indie side where there's indie creators that are really passionate about what they're making, but they might not have a lot of budgets. And then on the other side of that, we have these massive companies like Meta that have a lot of budget. They can afford to splurge and get these popular IP and the usage rights. But I feel like sometimes that side is a lot more commercialized, or it's just not really, it doesn't have as much heart as the people that are really passionate and do it on like an indie filmmaker basis. So I've seen those two, and there's not really a lot of middle ground in between that, like very cheap budgets versus like all the money in the world kind of thing. So I kind of see these two sides. Yeah. And then I was just thinking, that reminded me of something.
Yes.
Yeah, like for example, one of the installations that I was paired with Sundance of 2020 is called Book of Distance. And it is actually a Sansei or third generation Japanese Canadian. So his grandparents had immigrated to Canada, and he made a VR experience with the National Film Board of Canada backing them. And it was about how his grandparents, and I think his parents when they were really young, went through the internment camps in Canada. It's a really emotional experience, and I was really moved by it, and that's one of those things that I follow the creators on LinkedIn and things like that, and I see it every so often showing at festivals. But I wish a piece like that could be brought to a much wider audience. So yeah,
Interesting. I see. Okay, next question. So from this month, you are joining a new company.
Yeah.
New position. So if possible, could you please tell about it?
Yeah, for sure. So I was working for 2 years for a place called Dreamscape Immersive. They got their start doing entertainment VR. It's called LBE, so location-based entertainment, but that's really tough. And so they've pivoted their focus onto educational VR. It's just really hard to maintain a actual like storefront and business because there's a lot of costs when it comes to the rent, the staff, maintaining the equipment and things like that. So I worked for them on the entertainment side, but was laid off when they're pivoting now to education. So it was kind of an acquisition. They're now known as Dreamscape Learn, and they're partnering with ASU, but they're trying to bring educational VR modules to high schools and colleges. Now what I'm going to be starting my next job is I'm still in the marketing space, but I'm going to be working for one thing that I've noticed is VR as a whole, I think there's still a space for the gaming and entertainment, but I've actually seen an explosion on the scene of enterprise solutions. So a lot more therapeutic solutions, training, things like that. So I'm kind of going into that next with a company called Mind Immersive, that's MYND. They do therapeutic VR for seniors and elderly. So it's just really therapeutic to be able to kind of stimulate your senses and go in like a VR travel experience or something like that. If you're bedbound, it can really help with feelings of boredom, loneliness, and so they've done studies on how that can really improve mental health. Another one that I'm working for is called Knox Labs, KNOX, and that's based here in LA in Glendale. They're a hardware and software marketplace, so a lot of the big companies that we're showcasing at AWE sell through them. And,
AWE, the event.
Yeah, Augmented World Expo.
See,
Yeah,
the
so
conference,
yeah, so they sell things from companies like Cleanbox, HoloLens, what was it called? Like Icarus Flights, Kiwi. Oh my gosh, I'm like forgetting off the top of my head. there's like a certain like VR treadmill brand.
Cool.
Cat VR, Catwalk VR.
Catwalk.
Yeah, it's cool. It's literally a treadmill where you're like walking. But so they have a whole marketplace of all these different hardware and software brands. And Knox Labs is also kind of trying to be like a VR kind of news source. So that's one thing I'm coming on, is going to be doing some blogging, article writing for them. And then also kind of spearheading their social media presence. So so that's going to be my next jobs. I haven't started yet, but I'll be starting really soon with that. So I'm really excited. And I think LA is the place to be for these kinds of things. There's just, like I got my job with Knox Labs because on LinkedIn, I had gone to, they basically do demos of some of this really cool hardware that is really expensive, so you're not going to be able to really see it anywhere else, but they'll have a demo and you can kind of see the most cutting edge technology. So I went to a demo like a year ago.
It's an in-person event?
Yeah, like an in-person event.
Okay.
They have kind of like a wide open sort of, not warehouse, but sort of like a sound stage that you can use to try on like the newest, latest and greatest VR equipment and see how that is. So I met him when I just went to one of those events, and then we've been friends on LinkedIn. And then when he saw that I was looking for work, he was saying they could use some help with some of that. So we just kind of, because we're both in the immersive industry here in LA, we'd been friends on LinkedIn. I would see some of his posts. So he saw my post when I was laid off and looking for work and reached out. And so I feel like that's a really cool way, with the job market being what it is, that's sort of the way that people get employed these days, is through connections like that. And like this job was never even really posted. It's hard when the jobs are getting posted and then have like 600 applicants.
I know.
So that was the only way that I've found luck, is through people that I've met before, that I'm friends with on LinkedIn, and literally DMing each other with a unlisted job that they just need some help with. Like the people that were doing it before are now, they have so much else on their plate that they're just looking to offload like one component of what they used to do. So like with these startups, I feel like everybody wears so many hats and they have so much on their plate that if someone can come in and just take one thing off of that for them, that's really helpful for them. So
the reason why I started to have a conversation with Kato was, of course, she has cool fashion style, but I believe her superpower is her personality. So friendly and so like she can care of people, caring person. That's why I can understand if I am hiring a manager or CEO. Definitely, we need her as some people management or something.
Yeah, that's actually what he said when I've started onboarding. He was like, I like your personality, I like your friendliness. And I've worked jobs before where you kind of have to put on the corporate face and mask and kind of be a boring, embrace sort of like a boring side of yourself where you're not really giving much away, or you're not showing that personality. And it didn't work for me. So I'd much rather go somewhere where I can really be myself and let my true colors shine. So that's what really works for me. And and I think also one thing that was really interesting is with the AI stuff, they were saying that they were trying to kind of use AI to get maybe the idea of the article, but then they need a human touch to kind of make it have a tone and have a voice to the article and make it entertaining to read. Because when it comes to things like ChatGPT, you'll get the words, but it's a bit soulless. So they're looking for somebody, like there's like not really any soul or any human like emotions in it. So taking that concept that AI created and being able to edit it so that it feels like a human is behind it and it has some voice and some personality to the blog is something that they're looking for.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for listening our Creative Tech podcast today. We hope our story
to help your career and life. See you soon. Bye bye.